Pop Quiz, Year 3, Unit 3, Nations Dividing and Uniting. In this unit, we study the third quarter of the 19th century. It's a dynamic period. During this time, the United States endured one of its biggest trials, the Civil War, which raged and ravaged from April of 1861 to April of 1865. The Civil War takes center stage for most of our studies this period, but it was not the only event that deeply affected world history. While America was dividing, two major nations were taking shape. Italy and Germany finally joined the list of European nation-states. Our time frame is 1850 to 1875. We studied the administrations of 6 American presidents: Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, and Ulysses S. Grant. The central topic for our study of American history is the Civil War and Reconstruction, which will be our focus for 5 weeks out of the unit. Older students look beyond the United States in this unit. Teens study several events like the Crimean War in the east of Europe, the rise of Napoleon III, who established the Second French Empire, the unification of Italy, and the creation of a German empire under the brilliant leadership of Otto von Bismarck. All these undermine the concert of Europe, that diplomatic system that was set up after the Napoleonic Wars at the Congress of Vienna. These events paved the way for the Great War, World War I, which we'll get to next year, in the Far East. Week 19 introduces this time period by catching students up with recent events in Asia. Britain fought a war over illegal drug smuggling, but your family may be shocked to learn that it was the English who insisted on smuggling opium into China, and the Chinese who fought back against the foreign devils who were poisoning their people. During the 2 opium wars, the country with superior military technology, Great Britain, won forced concessions to trade in certain Chinese ports. About the same time, President Millard Fillmore sent a fleet halfway around the world to force Japan to establish trade relations with the United States. 20 focuses students' attention on people and events in the Crimean War. The Crimea is a peninsula that sticks out into the Black Sea, where Russia hoped to achieve her long-standing goal of getting access to warm water ports for her navy. Rhetoric students will learn about the combatants in this war and the effects it had on the balance of power in Europe. Dialectic and grammar students will focus greater attention on a real heroine of the Crimean War, Florence Nightingale, who was a British Christian who became the founder of modern nursing. Also covered in this week is the administration of Franklin Pierce. The main theme studied in connection with his tenure is the ongoing escalation of sectional tensions over the issue of slavery. In week 21, students will study the administration of President James Buchanan. He tried as hard as he could to keep an ever more divided nation together, but he failed. Near the end of his one term in office, 7 southern states seceded from the Union, following the election of Republican Abraham Lincoln. Older students will also learn about the unification of Italy in this week. Weeks 22 through 24 focus exclusively on the tragic story of the American Civil War, which raged across 5 Aprils, from 1861 to 1865. Our approach to the week plans that cover the course of the Civil War is open-ended, because this is a topic that our many families will wish to approach differently. Some families are fascinated by this era, and will have studied the Civil War in detail during previous rotations of Tapestry or with other programs. For other families, the topic is relatively new. Our 3-week study divides the war into 3 parts: the first 18 months in week 22, July of 1862 to July of 1863, in the next week, week 23, and the close of the war in week 24. We present a comprehensive list of readings and activities, but we invite you to focus your attention on the aspects of the conflict that most interest you. Week 25 covers the Reconstruction era under President Andrew Johnson, who took office upon the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. The enormity of Johnson's task, the devastation of the South, and the multiple issues arising from conflicting ideas about the best way to reunite the country are the focus of this week's study. In week 26, we studied the 2 terms of President Ulysses S. Grant. It was under this hero of the Civil War that Reconstruction finally came to an end, and the nation began to move on from the horrors of the Civil War. Unfortunately, as those in the North lost interest in Reconstruction, blacks lost their protectors, and the South settled more and more into the uneasy race relations, societal divisions, lasting bitterness, and poverty that would continue to plague it for nearly a century. In week 27, younger students get to read interesting information about famous scientists and inventors. With the introduction of inventions like the electric light and telephone, the world history studies will begin to include more and more things your younger students will recognize. Dialectic students will also learn about the Great Chicago Fire, the digging of the Suez Canal, and a little bit about the man who forged a new united Germany, Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck is the focus of the rhetoric students last week in this unit. The details of his purposeful, skilled leadership in finally uniting the German nations under his monarch, Wilhelm I of Prussia, are fascinating. As we work our way through history, every unit brings us closer to our own era. The pace of life is getting faster. With the opening of the Suez Canal and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, humans can suddenly circle the globe in a matter of weeks instead of years. There's real technological progress, but human beings themselves haven't changed that much. Slavery's out, but racism remains. New empires are rising even as the old ones fall. New technology makes it possible for people to move faster and communicate faster, but these enable them to kill people faster, too. As in every era of human history, we see both God's grace and man's sin at work. Grace in the gift of raw materials and intelligence with which to make technological advances, and sin in the uses that men make of their intelligence to abuse other human beings and carry wars of conquest into every part of the globe.